Preparing to live stream the meeting.
Yep.
It looks like we're live on my end.
Looks
Got
like.
it. Jim Brown, admit.
Then you'll probably get a couple of people who need to go to the waiting room.
Zoom meeting live on YouTube. Everybody hearing me?
Yes.
Yep.
One at a time?
Good.
Okay, let's give this a whirl.
All right. Well, we're back on. This is, again, a meeting of the Poolsville Town Commissioners. And we've already done our pledge. And welcome, Tony. And thanks for going through that hazing ritual that we give everyone, having to get us up on Zoom and YouTube. So moving right along, I just wanted to start off tonight. I thought maybe we could take a moment and recognize the fact that in 4 days from now, our country will be commemorating the 20th anniversary of the September 11th attacks on our country. And even though it's happening in 4 days from now, I know it's on a lot of people's minds this week. And if my fellow commissioners wouldn't mind indulging me, I just thought we could have just a moment of silence in commemoration of that.
Carrie, if you're saying something, you're muted. Tony, are you?
You should be, you're enabled to unmute yourselves. Try.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
I'm
got
good
it.
now.
Well,
Thank you.
Thanks for, I did not do anything, so.
Hope everybody had a good Labor Day weekend. I also wanted to just say Happy New Year to those who are celebrating Shana Tova. Before we get into our commissioner reports, I did want to bring up this sticky situation that we are finding ourselves in. It wasn't something that we had on our agenda, but we did want to discuss it. The trash service, or our contract with Bates Waste Management. Unfortunately, I know the commissioners in the town has been receiving a lot of emails and phone calls. And I know that Tony can speak a little bit more definitively to the total reaction that we're getting, but unfortunately this is a big problem, and we're really at the point now where even though there's a lot of factors and there is a lot of data suggesting the various issues, I do think we all can agree that there is a time to be looking at other options, and I think that time is now. Tony, I know this is your second week on the job, but I'm sure you can already see that this is a big issue. So I guess I'll ask you to kind of give us your initial thoughts.
Well, and
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
I will. I'm letting the sound issue that we were having before I'm having again. So if I give it about 10 seconds, it ends, and then I could just talk without other sounds going in my ear. We have been having quite a bit of calls, and you're getting emails and calls yourselves. Obviously, it's an emotional issue, and I do get the sense that we need to find a little bit of perspective here. Bates Trucking didn't just decide to start doing a poor job. A lot of factors are at play here. And we're in the last 9 months of the contract. I sense that, obviously a certain subset of the community is not really interested in hearing, what the background is, but I think it's important to kind of get it on the record. Bates is reliant on a workforce of low wage workers and CDL drivers that are under a ton of pressure at the moment. Parts for trucks are almost impossible to come by. We're having the same issue with equipment and for our own public works operations. It's just really a nationwide problem. This is hardly unique to Poolsville. But it looks like we're headed in a certain direction, with the vendor. I think, we've worked. The most difficult thing, I think, has been the lack of communication from our contractor here. We don't get much feedback. We don't get a lot of response. There's not well-coordinated effort to inform the residents. We have been brainstorming, some potential solutions. I think the expectation that we can just swap out one contract for another in a very short period of time is not particularly practical. We have talked about, the potential for, hiring a new vendor, perhaps splitting the city into different zones or different shifts, possibly coming up with, kind of off the table, not off the table, out of the box suggestions like hiring one contractor for the Monday pickup and one contractor for the Thursday. And so that we're not beholden to one individual. We've talked about the possibility of going into the business, of obtaining equipment and trying to do it ourselves, which would be a real steep climb. But at the end of the day, Bates is not performing well. But I'm hearing this from every municipality, frankly, and county people as well. There's a tremendous labor shortage. The trucks are out of commission. Every CDL driver in the country or county is being recruited by other CDL concerns to, abandon the position that they're in and go somewhere else. So, it's not fun to be us in town hall at the moment. It's not fun to be you guys getting these complaints. It's probably not fun to be Bates at the moment either. So, I think what we'd like to do is make more of a formal presentation of options to you, probably by the next meeting. But that we just ask for patience at the moment in dealing with this and coming to you with some options, understanding that we are in the last 9 months of this contract. And so we probably should start thinking about what we were going to do anyway. But circling back, I think also, twice a week pickup and recycling all in the same week, that's a very high level of service. And perhaps we should be surveying the residents to see, just what really is required, whether people would be willing to trade, possibly once a week pickup. Most recycling is bi-weekly. It's unusual. Could we get a grasp for how many times people are putting out full bins? Could we get a grasp for how concerned people are that, you're burning 100 gallons of diesel every time you do the run? Things like that, whether we could find out from our residents what they would find to be an acceptable level of service. Obviously, you guys know a lot better than me, what people have come to expect here. But that did kind of catch me by surprise that twice a week and weekly recycling is a very high level of service. And maybe because the price of this is not going to go down, especially if we act in an emergency way. And then that's assuming we get multiple bids, which is also not guaranteed. So I just don't, trying to not go into this from a poor negotiating position, a poor procurement position in trying to get a new vendor or trying to get mates to improve. Whatever happens, I think is going to be more expensive unless we decide to change the level of service.
You guys, if you don't mind, I was here on the last go round when we switched away from Titus, and I think two things are important to remember to think about. I know that Tony, you touched on this. We're kind of in unprecedented times here, but even more importantly, I think that we need to. Carrie, I give you credit. You've been answering every email, and I know that Town Hall and all of Maggie, Bobby, and Kathy have been working hard at Town Hall too to communicate with the residents. But it's been reactive so far, and I think that in this kind of unprecedented times, there's two things we should be doing. One is much more proactive conversations about, and I know people don't want to hear it, but the more that we're on top of it, and the more that we're proactively letting our residents know what's going on, that's one thing. I don't think we've done that. And I think we have, I think I give credit to our front office for doing the best they can, but we essentially didn't have a active on the job town manager that wasn't just doing town manager work at the time. So we can let the town manager do his job a little bit here. But the other thing is I don't want to negotiate on live YouTube. I don't want to give up any part of a negotiating position for what could be our next vendor, because if we're going to if our contract runs out in 9 months, and we have to be really, really careful. All the trash guys know each other. This is a lot of money. It's the biggest thing that we spend money on besides wages in town. So we need to have a best negotiating position. We need to have our own strategy. We probably should be talking in closed session about it. And the main thing I think I want to do is I want to reassure all the residents, look, we hear you, we got it. And we understand we get our trash picked up too, or not picked up too, so we're in the same boat. We're glad you're reaching out through all the methods that we've given you. Phone call to town hall, town commissioner, emails. I got it. But at the same time, you have to know, residents, we are working on it. We don't like it. It does suck, to roll your trash can out there and then have it not be picked up. Roll it back, take it back out again. Same thing with recycling. So we're going to try to communicate with you better and more proactively. And at the same time, town commissioners are going to focus on solving this in the best way possible. So I think that's what our two-pronged message should be on this. But I don't want to negotiate in public on it because it's a big deal. It's a lot of money. And we're talking about change of service. We're talking about vendors. We're talking about having to vet out these companies, potentially, if we ever to think about making a change, to see what other municipalities say about how they've done during these crazy times. I mean, it's going to be a negotiation. It's going to be work. That's it. Soapbox off.
I agree with everything Jim said about this is an appropriate thing to take into a closed session for a lot of reasons. One thing I would add is that I think one of the meetings we had last, Jay was letting us know that that we can walk away from the contract before 9 months if we choose to. So that's just something to keep in mind. Did I hear that correctly? Can you guys back me up on that?
I can't remember, to be honest with you.
Sorry, I don't know.
I think it might even be in an email. Anyway, I'll follow up with you on that, Tony, and let you know if we're in this contract for 9 months or if we can get out sooner. And then not to say we will, but again, what Jim said, like I've been hearing from a lot of residents, not like just people I've run into, and they're upset and they want their trash picked up. So something has to give, I think, and I don't think we should just do something haphazardly, but let's start working on this and figure out a way forward so that we can let people know what the plan is, sooner rather than later.
I also do like Tony's thought about us doing a survey to the community to see if the level of service that's being provided is what, is what's in the contract what people want in the first place. I mean, maybe we're not hitting things that we should be, and maybe we don't need 2 trash pickups a week. I don't know what the answer is to that.
Tony raises a good point. I mean, like, you know, we obviously have a lot of the residents in this town are very environmentally minded. And, you know, would they sacrifice the convenience of one of those actual trash pickups to like save fuel, save a little bit of money? And that's a great question. I don't know the answer, but you know, it's worth exploring for sure, in my opinion.
So it sounds like going back is there the one, look over the contract under Jay's guidance to see what are those other conditions where we might be able to do some different. We got to look at our options in terms of stick with it, pull out. I think there's some things that we need to do, as Jim said, behind closed doors, just to have certain discussions. And then I also think we have to keep the residents in the loop of what's going on. And like everybody else, I'll share out my frustrations of looking outside at the trash that hasn't been picked up and looking up and down the street. With that being said, it's perhaps Tony, if I heard Tony correctly, at the next meeting, they'll be able to give some updates, and so we can look at how to move forward. So.
Yeah, so Tony, would you mind reiterating what's the timeline we're looking at now?
The contract ends in June of 22. We can cancel it for cause or for convenience. The problem is getting someone to replace, while at the same time notifying your current vendor that, you know, they're no longer required. And, you know, if we think this can't get worse, I think it may surprise us. But yeah, we can definitely get out of the contract at any time. And if we find a replacement or we come to some sort of resolution, we can pull out. I think it's 15 days. It's actually quite short.
You guys too, and
So does it seem doable?
Right, not that we're anticipating this, guys, but they could do the same thing with us too. And when you're talking about less drivers, less workers, that means less routes. And if we're not, if we're not a priority, that's something that would worry me too, that we could be left scrambling, which I definitely, that's the worst possible position for us to be in.
Yeah, I think that's a really big concern for us too. So does it seem doable to have a presentation so that we're keeping our residents in the loop by our next meeting, and then maybe we have a closed session that same evening?
Yeah, I think that's doable.
Okay.
I have a question for Jim. Jim, what did you mean by being more proactive? Did you mean sharing more of the issues that Bates has on Facebook or something? What did you mean by that?
I mean, definitely thinking Facebook, but as to date, we've only written like 1 or 2 emails total, or posts total, talking about what we're doing with trash. And then on top of it, some of the information, like I've had a conversation with town staff about that. Even on this week, normally we've had pickup on like the Monday holiday, and nowhere in the contract is it written that they have to pick it up on the Monday holiday. But in the past, we have been the pickup on Monday holiday because they want to get us out of the way so they can do their other much bigger contracts than us. Mm-hmm. And we've been receptive. We're the town that if you tell us to put the trash out on Labor Day, we put the trash out. Mm-hmm. But on our last post, we basically said we put the post out this morning, and it said that the next trash pickup was going to be Thursday, but we didn't say that there would be no trash pickup today as the day after the day that it was supposed to be picked up as per our norm. So It's not. I don't blame anybody for it. They get 40% of their time is spent dealing with trash in our front office now. Yeah. So I get it, but we need to be more just on top of it in terms of having that conversation with our residents. A lot of residents say, I don't care what you say, I pay my taxes, and they're the same people that tell the police that you're the policeman's boss. I get it, and I don't blame them for being upset too. But at the same time, we've just got to be, today could have been a good example. Hey, if the trash pickup wasn't happening, the can you put out yesterday isn't going to be picked up, bring it back in, take it back on for Thursday morning.
So Tony,
Yeah, I wouldn't.
could you speak to this issue that Jim's talking about, the Labor Day, because the Labor Day issue, because I know that you and I and Bobby were texting and talking on the phone
Historically,
about it yesterday.
it's not in the contract, which is now in its fifth year, or fourth or fifth year. It's not in the contract, but they have picked up on Labor Day before. We posted on Facebook that they'd be coming on Labor Day because that had been kind of the tradition. But Bates's website said, "Oh, by the way, we're not coming," which, you really had to look for it. So they kind of had made that decision unilaterally. It would have been nice if they had notified us of this change in how they were going to do things. But I will tell you, we really, having a vendor that you have to check whether they're going to perform under the terms and conditions of the contract at all times is a little difficult too. I'm not sure we're spending 40% of time, but it's a lot of time. And I will also say 9 calls out of 10 are people are saying, okay, as long as I know what's going on, I'm okay. I'll put my trash back. And I think that also speaks to the bin's probably not full, but also, people do have some understanding of the situation. And it's gratifying that, you pick up the phone, you say, look, this is what's going on. And they say, okay, we'll deal with it. I'm disappointed and I don't feel like I'm getting my money's worth. People are pretty clear about that as well.
All right, so it sounds like our next steps is that we will listen to you present the options and a game plan moving forward.
Mm-hmm. And you all, am I hearing a call for exec session next meeting?
Yes, I think so.
You want to put that on the, I don't know if you all put that on the agenda or whether you just call it at the meeting.
We put it on the agenda ahead of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does anybody remember how was Bates's service before the pandemic?
I had some conversations with town hall staff just today, and the first few years were fine. I mean, you guys are all residents. You probably would remember, if it certainly wasn't like this. And
The only thing I remember really was some complaints about the trucks driving too fast, but I don't remember a lot of complaints about having pickups missed.
So Jeff, we had this discussion back in the day when Wade was here, and we had this discussion when Seth was here as well. And the consensus among Wade and Seth was both that, yeah, we've had a few problems, but if you check with other municipalities, there are similar problems happening. So generally we're getting, decent service. It was nothing like this though. I mean, it's kind of gone off the deep end a little bit.
Yes, I agree.
And I do know, again, Wade, I just looked, there's an email Wade sent us, and he checked around, and this is happening with other municipalities as well. It's not just Bates. There is a labor shortage. So what Tony said, Wade backs up what Tony said. There is a labor shortage, the parts, all that stuff is legit. So we've got to do our due diligence here, and we owe it to the residents to look into every option and do the right thing. So we will.
Yeah, I hate to have something come true that Tony alluded to and have a bad situation really get worse. If somehow we were to cancel a contract and not able to get a new one, we'd be really up to our neck in trash bins. Yeah,
we would. And I remember from my previous.
Go ahead, Tony.
Previous positions, the truck broke down. Was just, that's the first thing your vendor always said. I mean, the truck's always broke down, but now it's like it broke down and we can't get it fixed because, they're big rolling computers.
Yeah.
How quickly do you think something like a survey could come together as well?
It doesn't appear that we've done one from town hall, like a Survey Monkey or something like that you send out proactively to people or post on the moving message board or push out on Twitter. So we have established an account. I imagine it could be done, could be set up. What I'd like to do is kind of come up with a fairly nuanced set of questions and push them out to you guys first to see, if it's something that you think is going to get the job done. It isn't about, do you want to pay more for recycling or for trash? It's about how much are you putting out? How often do you not put out trash? Those types of things, and just kind of get people's temperature about what they want to do. There's always going to be somebody that's going to want the full service. And I think what we're trying to get ahead of is every municipality in the country is facing higher costs and more complexity in this issue. And we're going to get people prepared for that. And hopefully, the tradition here has been fairly frugal, and, we got a good contract here, but price wise, but best price is not always best value.
You guys also too, just note that last time we did do a survey back when we made the initial switch over from Titus, and it wasn't the question of how often is recycling done. I think that was pretty much etched in stone, once a week. And really, since we went to the method of recycling that we're doing now, once a week was like a must. But the question really was it twice a week trash pickup or once a week trash pickup? So I think that if the town's truly committed to recycling, and we can speak to some of the experts about this, but I'm not sure we want to get away from once a week recycling. I mean, everything should be on the table and we should talk about it. But it really, the variable was once a week trash pickup versus twice a week trash pickup. And there's only so many carriers that can do twice a week trash pickup versus once a week. So when we get into the conversation, we can have more of this conversation about, it's one of the reasons why we chose Bates. The reason why we chose Bates, you guys, was because they promised to have a representative on site during their trash pickup days and the recycling pickup days.
That's in the contract.
Right.
That's in the contract, and that's not happening.
And that's not happening, right? And the other thing that's gone downhill since COVID has been the lack of communication from Bates, not just not having a person on site, but a lack of real communication with the company during our bad trash and recycling days. So those are some of the things we have to consider and look what else, see what other levels of service are available, if they are, how it can be improved with Bates. The biggest thing the takeaway is that the town was more in favor of twice a week trash pickup than it was once a week trash pickup. Maybe that's changed.
Well, and Jim, I don't know. I don't remember exactly how the last survey was worded, but I wonder, if you present the question as, would you rather have once a week or twice a week? I imagine the answer you're going to get is more times than not is twice a week. But if you tell them the advantages of, you're burning less fuel, it's cheaper for the town, cheaper for your taxes, it might be a different answer.
Yeah.
True.
So we should.
Yeah, we never really get into the money of it, but I mean, I have to admit that, and I don't, again, this will get more into the closed session aspect of this, but the amount of taxpayer money saved from 2 pickups a week to 1 pickup a week was not that much per person. So per person's a little bit of a hidden comment, because it's if you got a 5-person household and 2 of them are 3-year-olds, that doesn't really get into doesn't help those numbers really.
Tony, when you guys are doing your research and looking at options, can you also just see what you can find out about current capacity in terms of Bates right now, and maybe just looking at other possible options? Like what I'm thinking about is I'm looking over Bates' website right now as we're talking, and I know that as it appears on their site, a lot of their business is over Prince George's County, Anne Arundel County, Eastern Shore. So I'm looking at maybe there might be others who have greater capacity in these challenging times. And so who's in the area that might be able to effectively deal with the shortage of drivers, the problems with vehicles, because just from a business standpoint, it doesn't seem as if we are as huge as a priority with the level of service that we're experiencing compared to other people who might be closer by to where their base operations are.
And I have no evidence of it being the case, but I imagine,
the
Anne Arundel County contract is probably worth, $1 million a month.
Right.
And, you know, are they going to endanger that, or are they going to reassign people to keep them happy? I think, you know, where human nature is going to take them.
Mhm.
So I follow what you're saying.
That's all. So I guess without going on and on about the same thing, it sounds like everyone is frustrated with where we are at this point, but we'll take some action. And I think we just make sure we really double down on the communication to the residents and demonstrate that we're transparent and show, hey, that we are aware of the problem. These are the actions that are being taken. These are the steps. And perhaps when this survey is constructed, there's a survey that deals with residents' expectations, so that everybody's clear on what are you expecting for what we're paying for, and then what is the volume of need? What is your need and what are your expectations?
All right.
Okay.
Good wrap up, Ed.
Yep.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for that, Tony.
Certainly.
So moving on to commissioner reports. So last year, or maybe a little over a year ago, Poolsville joined the Canal Towns Partnership, which I personally think was a really good idea. And since I've been attending these Canal Town Partnership meetings, I was invited to attend they had a World Canals Conference last week. And so I attended some of the workshops that were in and around the C&O Canal. And it was really interesting to see this nexus between tourism and the canal system. Folks really talked a lot about how the C&O Canal system, certainly in Maryland and possibly on the East Coast, is really a trail system. You know, it's just uncompared. And you know, it's owned by the National Park Service, which states that it's the 8th most visited park in the country, which is really kind of fascinating. We don't often think of the canal as a park, but it's such a system of trails. It really is. So I took a lot of notes at this conference, and I'll definitely be sending those out to both our Economic Development Committee and the Parks Board. So I'll send them your way as well, Jeff, because there was a lot of good ideas from other towns and from the association itself for how you can kind of capitalize on this partnership, the canal system. I also just wanted to mention the Towpath to Town brochure that's out now, and there's a bunch of them over at Town Hall, and I know that different community members have picked them up and started dispersing them throughout town. I know there's a beautiful kiosk at White's Ferry right now, and I don't know if these are there. And they're supposed to be putting a kiosk at Edwards Ferry, which will also hold these. And I don't know, I'll pull a Jeff Eck right now, but this is the section that representing Poolsville. And I definitely encourage anybody to pick up one of these brochures. Big thanks to Kathy Bupp, who helped me get a lot of this information in here. And then also a thanks to Terry Pitts, who offered up the beautiful picture to be used in the brochure. So I don't know, I think it really came out nice, and it's just sort of one piece in the things that they do. Speaking of Economic Development Committee, we had a meeting at the end of August, and we had a discussion about where to start, how to give input in terms of the master plan. Brian Bupp, who's the chair of the Planning Commission, very kindly came to the top of our meeting and just kind of gave us an overview for what they're looking for in terms of input. And then a couple of our Economic Development Committee members ended up attending the August work session and giving some feedback. The committee has been leaning towards doing its own survey, speaking of surveys, for a while now. And the committee decided to go ahead and really put our efforts into that and just get an idea of what is important to the community, what do we value. And so I'll definitely be including Tony in that. I know this is a big economic development, I know is something that's really your forte as well. So let's see, next is events. The big one, Poolsville Day, is still on September 18th. There's probably about half the vendors signed up, than sort of normal years. And I think that's, probably a good thing in terms of our spacing. And, if we end up with, half the attendees, it's still a great day and a great festival for Poolsville. As you all heard at the last meeting, there will be plenty of staff. Thankfully, we've figured that out, and there will be lots of COVID precautions in place. I know that that's really important to the Poolsville Day Committee and certainly to the town. I spoke with Kathy Matthews and then Greg Wims, who is now our new Kathy Matthews, our new Up-County Regional Director. And I know he had asked HHS to coordinate with our Up-County Firehouse to get a COVID vaccine clinic going on Poolsville Day. So I know that that's happening now, and they've been communicating with the Poolsville Day Committee. And so thanks to Chief Burns and to our own Commissioner Eck for that. Let's see, what else do I have? I guess lastly, I just wanted to mention the recent forum that we held at Town Hall that really highlighted the closure and the hopeful future reopening of White's Ferry. Thanks so much to the Fair Access Committee for coordinating that, making it happen, especially to Lynn Cohen, who's the chair of that committee, and then also to Maria McGuire, who's vice chair. I know they both were doing a lot behind the scenes, and then during the event, a lot of running around and making things happen. We had a full house. We had representatives from Montgomery County, from Loudoun County, a lot of citizen input. And it mainly was just nice to get to introduce Chuck Kuhn, the new owner, to the community and to hear his vision. So, I think overall I think everyone sort of came out of that meeting feeling hopeful. I also just wanted to give a shout out to MCPD, who also staffed the event, specifically Officers Bond and Hendricks. So thanks to them. That's all I have. You want to go ahead next, Martin?
Sure. We have not had a meeting since we last met here, and I gave a report. We did have a work session, and a couple people testified in that, but I'll go more into that at the in my next report once we've had a meeting.
And do we have a list of scheduled work sessions yet for a master plan for the Planning Commission?
I do not have one. You could check with Brian.
Okay.
He's been coordinating them. I know we have a list. Brian has a master list of all the parties that that we're hoping to get testimony from. I think so far we've knocked out probably 10 or so. I know we have a few more to go. So yeah, he can give you that information.
Okay, great. All right, Ed.
Sure. Just see here, just really look at the Sustainable Poolsville Committee. They've been working to submit just recommendations to the Poolsville Planning Board just for the comprehensive plan. And so I believe that took place. Danny and Joyce made some recommendations. And so just letting it go through the vetting process. So I don't want to take away from what they've done already. So we'll go through that planning process. And then just to be mindful though, with the, as we all know, with climate change is real, it is happening. And that we have to plan for that as we look at putting together the comprehensive plan. So I'm going to be interested to see what comes forward with these comprehensive plan and these work sessions. But just want to just commend Danny and Joyce, Danny Embry and Joyce, and the whole Sustainable Poolsville committee for working, and commend the planning group to being open and receptive to that feedback. And I think this is one of the things that makes the town a great place, where you have lots of volunteers coming together to strengthen our community.
Awesome, thanks. Jim.
Okay, guys. So fair access, obviously, always staying busy on fair access. And like Carrie said, I got to give Link a lot of credit. He's doing a lot of work here. And the rest of us are, he's like the Paul McCartney to the rest of the Beatles, I guess, even though I like John Lennon the best. We have coming up is the Poolsville Day Breakfast, again, where we started it all a few years back. Fair access made its mark. And again, we're doing the same thing with our Poolsville Day Breakfast for all parties that we want to help lobby to bring all the needed goods and services, specifically, again, the high school and the high school that we need to have it the way we need to have it built. That'll be Poolsville Day morning at Poolsville Elementary School. There was some talk about moving the location of it, et cetera. In case anybody hears those rumors, that's not real. It's definitely going to be at Poolsville Elementary School. And then the various politicians, elected officials can go right out into the parade and have a great parade day. So this is going to be a great chance for the Poolsville Day, for the Fair Access Committee to meet with the movers and shakers and again, make the decisions. So for an example, at our Poolsville Day Breakfast this year, we have the 3 primary county executive candidates coming: Mark Elrich, Hans Reamer, and David Blair. So they will be on hand at our breakfast. We've also got some members of the county council will be coming. Of course, our great one, Andrew Friedson's going to be there, and there's others too. But we're super excited. Our members of our state delegation. It's a great chance for them to meet Poolsville people and then talk about issues that surround Poolsville. And we've got a nice presentation that we're going to be doing. I'm emailing it all to the commissioners right now, kind of the round number approach to what we're doing on that day for that breakfast. Next up, Whites Ferry Forum, as Carrie indicated. Yes, the Whites Ferry Forum was, I think, by almost all accounts, a success. There, you heard some rumblings about what did we really accomplish. And I think, again, the big plan was, the A1 plan was always to introduce Chuck Kuhn and his wife to the community and let them know what Chuck's about and his resolve towards getting the ferry operational and his dedication to doing it, as well as his kind of a single-mindedness, like this is going to happen. And if you've read some of the stuff that I posted on Facebook, you can see that, the wedge for this, if anybody's listening, the wedge for this is likely going to be that the combined Department of Transportation studies are going to yield a direction. And it's whether or not that the Loudoun County Board of Supervisors is going to embrace that direction, or the Loudoun County Board of Supervisors is going to want to participate in bringing that direction to fruition. And that means that of the 9 Loudoun County Board of Supervisors member, which is crazy for us to talk about, we're a Maryland county, but we're going to be lobbying Loudoun County to see the wisdom of this public road. You hear everybody here talks about condemnation and eminent domain and how does all that come into play? And it's a private service. Just a reminder, it's 2 public roads that lead to one point, right? And we believe that the Loudoun County Board of Supervisors, with any luck, this DOT study is going to show that this is something that's a very public scenario, and that that either the Loudoun County Board of Supervisors are going to push the envelope towards eminent domain condemnation, or that that they will show a favorable bent in that direction, which would potentially bring the parties to the table for a good final, as I wrote on Facebook, a good faith negotiation, which really hasn't taken place so far on the Virginia side. So enough said on that. But if anybody wants to talk to me about White's Ferry, it seems like it used to be the question of the day always was, when are we getting in a grocery store? Now everybody wants to know, when are we going to get White's Ferry back? And with any luck, everybody keeps working hard. And these two DOTs, this combined DOT study ends up yielding something that can force all parties to work together. We'll see. Looking forward to that. And that's due in about another month or so. And we're going to let everybody know that when we need you to show up at a Loudoun County Board of Supervisors public meeting on the other side of the river, probably the first time we've done that, then we're going to, we'll let you know what's going to be required there. And they need to hear from everybody. Our tourism is down, our businesses are down, and our commuters are upset, as are the people that all come to our side too. We've heard from them. High school, we're going to be, the focus of the breakfast will be talking about the revitalization, rebuilding the new Poolsville High School. Everybody knows that we still have unfinished business with Poolsville High School, right? Money's been allocated. We've got a great, almost new Poolsville High School completely planned, but they still don't have the gym the way we want it. There's some other tweaks that we want to take place. And we're not giving up on having some sort of health component to do with the new high school too. So we'll be lobbying at Poolsville Day, at our Poolsville Day Breakfast. We'll be working with all of our elected officials. It's going to come back. There's going to be a budget meeting that comes up. We're going to be following up with the new school superintendent, the acting school superintendent. We're going to be following up with all the right people that we've got to meet with and shake hands with. And then there'll be hearings in November. And those November hearings, again, to the people of Poolsville in our area, we're probably going to need you. So we'll be hitting you up with a muster campaign. We'll be hitting up ways that you can help us push this thing over the top and give us the high school that we really deserve. And it's definitely not gone on the back burner. This is as front burner as it gets. It's just been, we have timeframes that are coming up that we're going to need to, you'll be hearing more from us on that. Last but not least, redistricting. So as we know, the county council voted to add two new council member positions. And the Poolsville area and the Up County, Western County area, we're going to have input on this. And what we've put together, and I'll send it off to commissioners in a little bit, and I'll also make it public on Facebook. The Fair Access Committee has come up with some proposals to how to look at how this redistricting could look for us and the best way for us, for it to look for us. Think about this. They want these districts to have roughly 150,000 people each per district. So what does that mean for Poolsville? Well, right now the ag reserve is cut in half, right? It's not a part of where we are. The whole ag reserve isn't included in our district. In fact, it's Poolsville and then south and then into Bethesda and, however else it's been gerrymandered. Luckily, we've had a great county council member recently with Andrew Friedson, but that we don't know how that's going to go on the next go around. We certainly want him to be reelected because he's been a friend to Poolsville and done great things for us. He's also helped rally the other county council members to look at Poolsville differently and look at us from, how do we supply services to this area? So the kicker will be this. What will our new district look like? Because almost certainly we're going to have a new district. And we want to try and help them decide what's the best district for Poolsville and the ag reserve. So you'll be hearing more on this. Commissioners, I'll be sending this off to you guys. Well, I'll put some on Facebook so people can see what it looks like. It's vitally important. We had a do nothing county council member prior to this, and we never got a whisper of help towards the Up County. We had a good one elected that also is torn. He has almost all the municipalities across Montgomery County, yet he chose to spend a lot of time with us, and it's really brought us some great things. So anyway, you'll be hearing more from us on that. That's it.
Great. Thanks so much.
Would
Any
Jeff,
questions?
you want to go ahead next?
Sure. I just wanted to start off by telling Jim that I sent at the White's Ferry Forum. I was very pleased to hear Loudoun County Supervisor Caleb Kirshner and his optimism towards the outcome. Of course, nobody really can predict what the outcome is going to be, but nevertheless, he was quite optimistic about it. And so I had a chat with him after the forum. And then I also chatted with the woman there, Stacy Carey. She's the chief of staff for Supervisor Kirshner's office. So I chatted with them. They seemed, and I of course thanked them for coming, the long way around, of course, and
Yeah.
and so I got these thank you cards, and I sent one to each of the persons there, a handwritten note, so thanking them for coming. But I thought their optimism was it was really sincere, right? They weren't just here over on Maryland trying to beat the drum in some kind of a fake fashion. They were quite sincere about it. So I was really happy to hear that.
And Jeff, thank you for reaching out to those guys. And I'll tell you why too, because again, there's 9 Loudoun County Board of Supervisors. That's one of them.
Right.
If there's
right.
a coalition that can be developed, and a coalition
Right.
developed with or through Caleb and his staff, then that is one of our hopes for getting this thing going in the right direction. So to see him there, I'm very thankful for it. He was very honest about it. He didn't have to show up. He had no political cover to be
Right.
there.
Right.
And so thanks
Yeah.
again for mentioning that. I appreciate it. And also thanks a lot for writing a nice note to him. We appreciate
Yeah,
it.
and he did encourage the folks from Maryland to submit testimony by writing, but also to be, I forget if he said it was November or the December meeting, to be there in person, like you mentioned. So hopefully we get a busload of people and
That's
drive over.
yeah, to take the long way around. I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My Parks Board meeting is tomorrow. And actually, I'm going to be on the train going to Chicago, so I'll probably miss the Parks Board meeting. But I did want to just mention a little bit about the organization for the COVID vaccinations at Poolsville Day. So I've been working with a number of folks from the Montgomery County Department of Health and Human Services to organize the COVID vaccine for Poolsville Day. Now they're going to have their setup is going to be on Fisher Avenue, right in front of Total Automotive. And that'll be right by where Upper Montgomery has their Poolsville Day first aid area and whatnot there as well. So we're going to coordinate with them to make sure that everything gets set up properly. And hopefully we will have, I've been asking DHHS for a QR code or a link, because they as well as I have no clue how many people are going to want a vaccination. I hope it's many, but honestly, I don't know. So I've been asking the DHHS to send a QR code and a link so that we can post that on the Poolsville Facebook, the Poolsville community Facebook, and encourage folks to pre-register. Now, pre-registering is not necessary at all, right? You can walk up and they'll register you on the spot for your vaccination. But it would be nice to get a clue as to how many vaccinations there were if we were able to get folks to pre-register. So we're still, still trying to get that. They said they would send me a QR code, just haven't sent it yet.
I'm sorry, Jeff, can you say again where it will the clinic will actually be located?
Yes, it will be right in front of Total Automotive, which is right next door to McDonald's.
Great.
And it's right in the same vicinity as the Upper Montgomery County Volunteer Fire Department space is on Fisher Avenue. So that's all worked out with Kathy Bopp and, of course, the property owner, Lynn Bodmer at Total Automotive and so on. So, things are worked out. We did the site visit. Mr. Eric Nixon from Montgomery County DHHS came out, met with me. We kind of walked along the street for 20 feet. And he said, this is good. He said, you'd be surprised. Sometimes we're asked to set up a clinic on the side of a grassy hill and, there's no level space. So he said he always wants to come out and make sure the space is going to be adequate for the nurses that he sends and the tents and tables and whatnot. So yeah, everything worked out fine, and we're looking forward to that, quite a bit. I do hope we get a number of folks, stepping up to take a vaccine. I really hope. I don't know what the response is going to be yet, but hopefully we get some folks who want a vaccination. So yeah, it's all coming together.
All right, excellent. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, so next on our agenda is approval of the minutes. The minutes are from August 16th, 2021. Does anyone like to make a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of August 16th, 2021, minutes commissioners of Poolsville.
I'll
Thank you.
second. I'll
Thank
second the
you.
motion.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. So next is public comment. Do we have anyone here to make public comment? As opposed to on the agenda?
All on the agenda.
And we don't have any old business, so we're on to new business. And first up is our folks here to present about the senior center.
If you don't mind, I'll start with Maria Brianco from Poolsville Seniors. Is that okay? Hopefully she's
Yeah, you
ready.
can probably, if you don't.
I can
you
admit them
probably
all if
bring
you
in-
want.
Yeah, you can probably bring in all of the folks from the Poolsville Seniors.
Okay, I'll admit them one at a time.
I think it's Brianson. We'll have to ask her. Hi, Maria.
Hi,
Yeah, you can probably, if you don't, say your last name for us.
Brianson.
You can probably bring in all of the folks from the Poolsville
Yes,
Seniors.
yes.
Uh-oh, now
we
I can
have
hear
some
myself.
extra people tonight, yes.
So someone needs to turn off their YouTube, I think.
Does someone have YouTube on? I don't think I do.
Okay, maybe you've done it. And we have Bill with us. Hi, Bill. I see.
Yep. Bill
That's it.
McDonald, Rich Norwood, and Tookie Gentilcore. I don't know
Great.
how
Hi,
many of
everybody.
you know these people.
Thanks for
we're
joining
all-
us.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting us to join you this evening. And we really appreciate the chance to share some information with you.
Well, I'll let you go ahead.
Okay, so do I have to give my name and address and all of that?
No, I think we're okay.
Okay, all right. So let me just start by saying that it wasn't that long ago that several of us who you see tonight were involved with an effort to bring Poolsville pickleball to the outdoors. And you all were so kind and helpful in helping to establish that. And that's how we got these 4 courts over in Stevens Park. And if you go by any morning of the week, and sometimes the weekends, you will see a number of pickleball players having a really good time. And we are just so thankful to all of you for making that all possible. And now tonight, we're giving you an opportunity to maybe help again. So I don't know how much you know about us, but as of July 1, 2020, the Poolsville Seniors storage space became my living room. So everything that Poolsville Seniors owns and has acquired since this organization came into existence in 2012 now sits in my living room. So we're talking tents, tables, chairs, decorations, linens, you name it, everything. So when we saw this opportunity for the thrift shop opening, after the previous operation moved out, we were like, okay, maybe the town could help us so that I can get everything out of my living room and maybe into this space. So we came to you all and we asked if that was possible. And we were told it was possible. So we got pretty excited about that. And then when several of us went in and toured the facility, we're like, okay, some work needs to be done here. But just imagine, and that's what we did. We started imagining what the possibility could be for this thrift shop. You wouldn't have vacant space anymore. It could be filled with seniors, we envisioned small events, maybe fundraisers, maybe some office space. We didn't know where this would go, but we thought maybe if we could get the muscle behind it, we could find a way to get the supplies and the work that needed to be done. So that's when we came back to the town and said, hey, is this even possible? And then we were told, you're going to have to come before the committee. And so that's why we're here tonight. And we just want to, talk to you about how 12 years ago, or 2012, sorry, so about almost 10 years ago, several of us who you see tonight joined this organization, Poolsville Seniors, because we wanted to one day see that Poolsville Seniors had their own place to meet. And here it is, almost 10 years later, that Poolsville Seniors and all Poolsville Seniors, not just the people you see in this space, still don't have that permanent space. So we're not asking for outright funds unless you feel that kind of generosity, but we would consider some kind of partnership with you, a private and government partnership. We come to you now open for whatever yours might suggest that might lead us to that conclusion.
Can I ask a question?
So
Absolutely. And I guess I should put I haven't even looked at my face here. You can see who I am.
There you are.
Hi, everybody. I'm Maria.
I just wanted to, I was just wondering if you also saw the report from our town engineer.
No, we did not. We were
Yeah, that's
not.
exactly what I was going to ask. Yeah.
No, we did not.
So Tony, do you want to speak to that a little bit? Because it is, it's rather lengthy in terms of the various
Improvements. Yeah.
repairs that are really kind of needed.
Yeah, we had John Strong from Clark Azar, the town engineer, go through the building. He did, a fairly cursory review, but it's a lot. The building's not ADA compliant. There's no second doorway for egress, which means something's going to have to be cut, which implies MHT approval. In a building of that age, it has structural issues. The wiring is not compliant in any sort of modern sense of building code.
Right.
The heat is a space heater. Those types of things. I mean, it's to make it habitable for activities is easily a six-figure or multiple six-figure undertaking. So it definitely would have to be some fundraising or some sort of partnership.
Right.
Is inferred. The space is actually quite small. I walked down there and looked through the windows, but it's just not a modern building. Obviously, it's a historic building, and the lack of ADA compliance, especially in a building that would be utilized a lot by seniors, is problematic. The lath and plaster doesn't seem to have any sort of structural cohesion for the choir loft. John was like, I'm not really sure what's holding that up. Interior renovations are a little easier than exterior, so you don't require historic approval,
Right.
which can be time consuming. But it's a big job to make it habitable. We did pave a little parking lot there, but I think it has 3 or 4 spaces,
Right.
something like that. So it's I'm sorry you guys didn't have the package, I suppose. Is
Yeah,
not.
no, we did not receive that.
I'll make sure you get that.
Yeah, I mean, we submitted a letter dated July 26th,
I have
and
it.
we received a phone call several weeks later saying, you're on the docket for September 7th. And so we even changed our board meeting time to accommodate it, so that we could be here tonight. And that's really all we received, except from you, Mr. Tomasello, today, receiving notice that we were on the docket and an invitation on Zoom. And that's really all we've received. Has anybody else from the committee can they speak to the package that Mr. Tomasello, no from Bill, no from Tiffy?
I doubt it.
Yeah,
I think
no,
the
none of
council
us
just got
did.
it on Friday.
Oh,
Can I ask a question, Tony,
Mhm.
oh,
or Ms. Brancon? So, yeah, I read this over. It's actually not a very positive report, but I was just wondering, is it possible that the seniors, because you mentioned some things beyond storage, right? So I kind of divide this thing into two different categories. Just
Sure.
storage, right? Because obviously you have a bunch of stuff in your living room, which is not ideal.
right.
And and I'm just
Or over
wondering,
here.
and maybe this is more of a question for Tony. Is it possible that the Poolsville seniors folks can use that strictly as a storage locker and not as a meeting
Yeah,
space?
it's my understanding that that was already approved. That
It-
that storage was okay.
Strictly as a
Um,
storage locker, right? Not
I
as
have
a
not
meeting
seen,
space.
I've
Or,
not seen an agreement, but it
Right.
was my
Yeah.
understanding that
Right,
they.
yeah,
that
there's
the-
no written agreement with that. We did receive a tacit approval for that. But then we didn't know, the particulars as far as usage of electricity, because it's a town-owned building. Would you be paying for electricity? Like if we had to go and get something at night, would we use flashlights? I mean, like, how would that work?
That's a good question, ma'am, and I apologize for my newness. Can you just inform all of us where the tacit approval came from?
Yeah, from former interim manager.
Okay, well, okay,
Mhm,
that works. Thank you.
mhm.
I have to ask a question that was a couple months ago, and I think for Mr. Jim, Commissioner Jim Brown, do you remember someone offering to purchase that building? Is
Yeah,
that
we did.
is that still alive or dead?
Definitely still alive. It's something that and it knows somebody. It's Brian Jameson and a group of people. I would imagine Brian has backing from that were interested in buying it. They made an offer for it. I think now with our permanent town manager in place, it's something that potentially we should consider. I can reach back out to him and then also have see if that proposal's still alive and push it out to the commissioners, just for whatever it's worth.
Well, that was in the back of my mind, and if we tell Miss Brancon that she can use it as a storage locker, then then next month it's sold and she has to move all her stuff. That's not ideal.
Right.
I don't know, I don't really know how real or how live that offer is.
Oh, okay.
And I think that probably, I mean, my solution to the senior situation is maybe to have a offline meeting with the town manager, with some of the senior representatives. Doesn't have to be a public meeting, and try to have a little further discussion about some of the needs of the senior group, and then potentially put something together that could help those guys, or at least make a proposal that all the commissioners can consider. So, and I'm sorry for Maria and everybody else that showed up for the meeting tonight with no real, the town doesn't have a solution at hand for you, but that doesn't mean that we can't work on something and put something together that could be helpful besides your living room and besides my barn.
Okay.
Yeah,
Are you offering?
No, you already, don't play dumb. You already asked, you did.
I mean, I agree. I think that this is a conversation, Maria, that, Poolsville seniors can continue to be having with Tony and town staff,
Okay.
to see if there's some viable solution. I mean, using it as storage, with, kind of a wink and a nod type of partnership right now, is one thing. But utilizing it as like the Poolsville seniors space, now are we talking like some kind of a lease agreement? Like, it sort of opens up like all of these questions, like if this is like a whole different thing, which could be fine. But then Tony just read to you the various issues that we have to, I mean, for no other reason than just being in line with code, that need to happen first, and it brings up the bigger issue for what does the town want to do with that property? Do we want to hold on to it and be in the business of renting it out? I don't know. Or do we want to sell it? Or, I mean, it's just, I think up until now, we've never really had much of a conversation about what to do about it.
But
I'm glad we could open that up for you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that.
You,
Yeah,
you guys, go ahead.
I just want to say my 2 cents is I'm very amenable to helping out the Poolsville senior. So if they needed to use, I mean, obviously it's not only my decision, but if they wanted to use it as a storage locker, I think that seems reasonable. We just have to have some understanding if the building collapses and all your items get, ruined by some, horrible calamity, that, who's responsible for what. But having, reading John Strong's report, that seems like something that you would not want to have meetings in there, or because a storage locker is one thing, but having people in that building routinely doesn't seem like a good idea given the condition.
Right. Yeah, definitely if we had that information, this
Yeah.
might have been a different meeting, if at all.
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
What if we help the seniors build a structure on top of one of the pickleball courts for us?
Oh,
Okay,
You'll
that's,
have to speak to our engineer here, Bill.
I think I would incite.
They would come after
Anywhere
you,
but the
Jim.
pickleball courts.
that was a good answer. Good answer.
I don't think Bill's gonna let that happen.
Yeah, that's fine. You guys, I'm totally sympathetic to the cause, and I kind of wish I'd known that this was going to be the direction on this meeting. So let's figure out a way to get together and see how. Yeah, y'all are vitally important to us, right? The work that you do, and the representation you give us, and the services you perform are. I can't tell you how many meetings I've been with people that are helping us make decisions that we point to the vitality and the always positive direction of our Poolsville seniors. So we appreciate you guys doing that. We definitely will want to work with you. We'll try and figure something out.
Yeah, we've had a lot of success. We just don't have a permanent home,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the way you guys have really pivoted in this crazy quarantine time, and really that just created this whole
paradigm.
theme. A whole new paradigm is really what you guys have created. It's been great.
And I want to compliment Miss Gentlecore, because I read the newsletter every single time, and I'm always quite impressed by the professional look and content. So thank you very much for that.
Well, I have to tell you, they retired me.
Yeah.
And we now have this amazing 20-something gal who is a communications major at University of Maryland, who has brought us into the 21st century and has made it a blog and
very nice.
kind of stuff that I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
but it is amazing. She does.
I do enjoy reading it, and all the events and the historical events by Mr. Kenny Scholes, and it's really impressive what a small group like yourself really accomplishes. So thank you very much for all that.
All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for yours. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
I'm happy to meet as soon as we can get it scheduled.
All
Okay.
right.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See you then.
Okay, next on our agenda. Next, now we are on to the community garden project. And we have someone joining us for that as well.
Seeing Jennifer Freeman come up directly.
Hi, Jenny, are you there?
Yeah, hi. Good.
There we go.
My video going. Okay, there we go. Hello.
Hi, good to see you.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It's great. Good. Thank you. Good.
So
So
if you wouldn't mind just kind of taking a few minutes and kind of just giving us a kind of a quick overview of what you're thinking in terms of your project.
good. Great. I'd love to. Thanks. So the idea would be to start like a community garden for really with the intention or the concept to be to help serve some of the lower income areas, particularly over, like we were looking at the area around near the skate park where there's that grassy area, and then there's those townhouses there. And already I think, like Wamco serves a few families there, and Community Farm Share serves some families there. So I think there's, probably a need there. And just to see if we could have some of that space in that area to set up a place where people can grow their own food a bit. So that's the basic idea. I was thinking about, kind of starting, there's, I guess, some parallel tracks to figure out. One would be just to first really do a survey and see if there's interest from the community themselves. There has to be the buy-in, obviously, and if there's enough interest, then go from there to do some next steps. And so I thought I'd put together a survey with some questions just to see, are people really interested? Would they be committed to it? What kind of experience do they have? What kind of background do they have in it? What kind of support would they need, et cetera? And then, sort of, I think that would be the first step. And if there is enough of the potential interest, then we could kind of go to next steps. I made a little outline of ideas of stuff we would do, which would be, kind of have a committee of both the residents, because the idea of it really, I should really emphasize, is a garden our community garden that is run by and for the people there that are living there. So I really want the organizers and whoever the main organizers would be from that community. I would support, I would be there. I've created my own gardens before. I was almost going to create a community garden at one point, didn't actually turn out, but I've kind of gone in that direction before in another case. And we didn't get it started, I should say. It didn't turn out. It sounds like it got started and ended. So it never got started. But anyway, so I would love to be the person to support it. But it really should be, buy-in from the local community that's right there. So again, kind of, I don't know, should I pause there or do I keep going? Because otherwise I'll keep going.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Please do.
Ms. Freeman, so yeah. So is this kind of like, well, you're probably too young, but and actually so am I. Is this kind of like the Victory Gardens where they grew food in England during World War II because they didn't have much of a supply chain? Is it the idea to grow food or to grow flowers?
Oh, food. Sorry, food. It's a food thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a food thing. So definitely, there can be flowers. There's also nice to integrate some things, and there's some flowers that are helping with pests and stuff like that. But no, basically it's a food thing. So it's really there's no space there there's very little space for them to grow their own food. And like I said, I know that like Wamco and Community Farm Share has been supporting them with some, fresh produce and other, pantry items and stuff. So there seems to be a food need to some degree there. Again, I can't give you numbers or anything. I just don't know. But that's
I visited, I'm going to say his name wrong, David Thoreau at the
Ontario.
local, at Locals. And if you go kind of around back there in that little building, he has this, I don't know what it's called, an ice box or some kind of.
Oh yeah, that's also my other little thing. Yeah.
That's your thing?
That's me.
Well,
Jenny, maybe you could just talk about your organization, Community Farm Share, and what it's about.
Okay. Yeah. I guess confusing because I sort of have my little feet or hands or whatever in a bunch of different pots, but they all have to do with food insecurity stuff. So Community Farm Share.
They all have to do with what?
Food insecurity and farming and vegetables and basically produce farming, food insecurity. That's sort of my shtick. So Community Farm Share is an organization where we have 7 local farms in Montgomery County. So it's a little bit broader based. And we just started it this year, and we basically gather out donations from private individuals, organizations to buy CSA shares, like regular CSA shares for families experiencing food insecurity. And I've got a network of volunteer drivers that brings these CSA shares every week for between sort of 20 to 26 or 30 weeks of the year to the families themselves to have fresh produce. They usually don't have access to this kind of great, amazing produce, and it's been really nice to see families so happy to get have access to this food. So that's been, and we'll do it again next year. By the way, I'm also just while I have a minute here, I also am just now the Community Farm Share. So this is still under the umbrella of Community Farm Share. We're doing a sub project now with the winter CSA farms. There's 3 farms that have greenhouses and can do 4 seasons, so they can even grow in the winter. And this sub project is particularly to support our Afghan neighbors primarily getting resettled over in PG County and in Alexandria. So we're kind of spreading out that way too, but basically to do CSA shares, particularly for the refugees that are coming into the DMV area. But that's different. Okay, so that's that's another subject. And then the community cold shed is collecting backyard vegetables from Poolsville area, Barnesville, Bellsville, you know, the whole thing, Dickerson, everywhere. They, when that produce that gets delivered to that's brought to the community cold shed, that goes primarily to WUMCO. If, you know, I check in with Katie, if she needs extra stuff there, bring it over there every week. And then whatever is left over, then I also help distribute that to other food assistance providers in the upper Montgomery County area that have more dense population need. But that's a different thing too. So then the idea, really, to be honest, I'll link it back to the community garden. The idea is that, you know, what WUMCO is doing, what we're doing, because we're partners, so I kind of consider us a lot of, you know, overlap and stuff there. And then what Community Farm Share is doing is all of those three things, and even the cold shed. It's really, other people have food and we're bringing it to them, right? Which is great. I mean, it's needed, it's important, it's critical. It has to be done on small local scales, like what we're doing, of course, and also on the bigger scales, like whatever, you know, the Farm to Food Bank program is doing, or Manna or whatever. But now, you know, the idea is, okay, people also want to grow their own, you know, they can. And a lot of people have backgrounds in gardening or farming and stuff that have been there or that live there now, and they just simply don't have access to the land, or they don't have the ability to set it up or whatever. So it's just to see that, yeah, let's also have the opportunity for people to grow their own, you know, and not just always be given the food too, which is still important too, but kind of a double thing.
Mm-hmm. So what was, yeah, I lost track. So what was the request?
So the request is the community garden, is to look at the space that's over by the skate park, that grassy area, kind of behind Tractor Supply. So the idea there is say, okay, there's empty space there. There's dog park, and there's the skate park. And there's this grassy area that has full sun, and it's right across the street from what I think, again, I haven't done that kind of a survey. You probably know more than I do, but I'm assuming, I have the feeling that area right there, and they just walk across the street would be interested maybe in growing food for themselves. So that's it. So basically setting up a garden. So there would be a budget that would, kind of main things would be on the budget would be deer fencing, probably. There is a fire hydrant right there. So I think we have easy access to water. What I've seen in other community gardens is they build these, they have like I don't forget how many thousand gallons, but it's a big tank, and you can pump up water from the fire hydrants, and you meter it, I guess, and pay for it and stuff. But I think that would be one option for water. And then get compost in, you know, so I'm excited about it because I think we'd also really get the Poolsville community involved, you know, like there's Poolsville Community Garden might be interested in helping to get it off the ground and set up. And of course, you know, WUMCO could be involved. I also did mention too, over at the Global Ecology program for the high school, to see if there might be some students that are interested in, you know, somehow community garden and getting them involved. And of course, the head's super busy right now because I just emailed her like 3 days before school started. But anyway, she actually wrote back and said she was excited because she even had one student come to her completely independently and said they wanted to start a community garden or something, or gardening club, in order to use that food to give to food insecure families or for pantry.
I was just going to say that that might be a club unto its own.
Yeah, so there's a lot of linkages within the community, and of course it connects with, like you talked, you know, with the Dave Terry and Sandy Wright's projects, and you know, it connects with a lot of different organizations, which would be neat too, to bring it all together and help build that area up a bit, you know, and make it in terms of it'll be beautiful, and you know, it's a lot of educational stuff. So eventually it'd be great to get into stuff with like healthy eatings, because I know there's a few people around town that are really into healthy eating, and they have blog posts about this, and that would be neat to get that information to people. So once you grow your food, what does it really mean about when you're, you know, how much nutritional value is there and stuff. So that would be exciting. That would be another project. And then again, back to the student side, maybe the students could even have their community plot there too. And then that food could be used, you know, for folks.
I believe there's an interest to, and I'm the person who liaises on the Parks and Park Street, and I forget what it was, board. And I believe there's an interest to expand the skate park. but I don't know in which direction, like taking up possibly, and I'm talking out of my head right now. But I know there's an interest in expanding the skate park, and I don't know for sure if it's going in the area of the grassy area towards Tractor Supply or not. So those, I guess we just have to kind of figure that out, if that's going to go forward. And, if it isn't going to go forward, then it's more possible to have a community garden there. So I think this needs to be maybe looked into a little bit deeper in terms of the expected use of that, the grassy area between the skate park and Tractor Supply.
Mhm.
Tony, do you know anything about that?
The skate park or about the plans for the garden?
Yeah. Well, no, about expanding the skate park, because I know there's been discussion about that, but I don't know what the.
There has,
I don't
and I believe it's on your agenda tomorrow night to talk about it, Park Streets and Sidewalks.
Yeah.
And that, possible design issues, funding issues, whether, you're going to make the skate park so big that you're inviting, lots of out of town use. Those types of things I think are going to be discussed tomorrow night.
Mhm.
It's a pretty big area though.
It is, yeah.
So,
Yeah, I was gonna, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Jenny, are you in the midst of doing the survey right now?
I didn't put it out yet because I kind of wanted to hear from you first if there's some preliminary, kind of, if I should basically kind of see that first, basically get some feedback from you and then
Just wondering if maybe, if you get the results that, you're looking for, if that would be a good thing to take to the Parks Board along with, proposal, for lack of a better word, and kind of bring that to them so that, they can be looking at all these different options for our.
Good. Yeah.
Green
Yeah.
spaces in
Okay.
town.
So I can just start doing that then. Okay. I just wasn't sure sort of like which, chicken egg thing goes first, but okay, good. That's good. I'll get that going then. That's perfect.
Do you mind if I give you a little tip too? Because we've kind of done this before, and a way that you can help your cause and a way that you can make this something that the town can partner with you on is, I would say, develop a organizational structure that's beyond yourself and beyond, put something together that makes it so that if the town decides to work with you, and we are about helping residents and bringing residents and using our facilities, using our land. It's your land too, right? So we want to maximize use of everything. But what we don't want to do is get into creating and getting into partnerships that end up having a hierarchy that can't hold it together or doesn't have like a long-term plan. So think about while you're doing the other things you're doing, which you might be, going to, not 1,000,000 miles an hour, but 100 miles an hour in a bunch of different directions. Think about how something can be put together that has some longevity and some structure, because we don't want to be the ones that have to take on more things to run it. We only have 19 staff members. We only have, a certain amount of people, volunteers on this side, paid people on the other. So we want whatever we would partner with and work with you with, we need to hear more about how it's something that's ongoing and will have some legs to it, over a period of time. And I know you can do this. I know you're an organizer, somebody that really can devote time and effort. But that's kind of what I, as a commissioner, before we stepped into an agreement or a partnership, I'd want to hear who's going to run it, how long is it going to run, what's your structure look like, because we're talking about potentially a decent chunk of land and something that's going to be really, a real positive. So I'd want to hear how all that's going to work as time goes on.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, that's good. Thanks. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, and in terms of, I just want to get back to the thing on the size too. I think I know I talked to Martin before too, and there's interest in also. I don't know if this was with the skate park thing, but also with like the bouldering or climbing thing or other ideas that are out there. So whatever the other plans are for that area, there's plenty of space for the garden. So I have in my place, I've got, I think it's like 60 by 70 feet. It's huge. And so that's not even just a portion of that area. So it doesn't have to be that whole area, of course. You can grow a lot of food in a small space, basically.
Right. Good. Love the idea of it.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks for
Great,
being
so
here.
much.
Okay.
Thank
Any
you.
other
Good to see you.
questions? Good. Okay, so I'll start working on the survey thing and then get back to people after, get some results and follow up. Good.
Excellent.
All right, thank you so much thanks for listening and questions. And I'm glad that I hear some preliminary support. Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Take care.
Okay.
Thanks,
a lot.
Jenny.
Good, thanks. Have a good night.
Good night.
How do I get out? I'm lost. Hold on.
Just hit the little.
Oh, there.
There you go.
I like it. She knew when to hold up and when to fold up. That's smart. Don't keep talking after you've already made the sale. Nice work. I love the idea of it.
It is a great idea, yeah. Okay, I
Could you
think now we're
just-
on to our, I'm sorry, did you have something?
I know before we wrap up, hey, Thomas, Tony, I'm gonna stop calling you Tom. Tony.
That'd be great. That'd be
All
good.
right. TNT.
Come on, Joe.
All right, there it is. Me and Joe Green. But on the serious side, Tony, just while it's on my mind, one of the things that's come up in previous meetings is when we have public comment, it just something to put on your radar. It's when we have public comment, making sure we have a vehicle where the general public can hear what that responses might be. Like when we say we need to look into something. Because I know a few months ago, I guess probably a month or two ago, one of the people who participated in one of the meetings just said, what does the follow-up look like? And sometimes a person is listening to hear what the response is going to be to an issue someone else rose. And so if there's a way, we could just something to think about, what's the best way to share information with the general public when someone comes on and raises a concern or shares an idea, and when we can't answer that question in the moment and we say we'll get back to you, there are folks, other people are interested in the answer.
Yeah, I mean, there's different ways to do that. I mean, people don't often parse through the minutes, which where those types of things should be, and the minutes, the sets of minutes that I've read tend to be pretty low level. I mean, it's just who spoke and about what.
Yeah.
So maybe we could adapt those a little bit. It's hard to say, and some proposals, of course, let's face it, don't have the legs that other proposals do, and I kind of don't want to formalize them. But the two from tonight obviously are going to have some follow-up, and either from my report in subsequent meetings or in agenda items, or they'll go to other committees and boards and those types of things. And then helping them, if we need to push something else, hey, look for a survey from XYZ organization, to help them spread the word on things. There's different things you can do, but
Right. So I'm just
some of it's also kind of on them as well to make sure that they have some, I think as Jim mentioned, is make sure they have some momentum and some partners behind their project, which kind of is going to organically make sure that it stays in the public eye.
Right. And then what you'll see, like tonight, we didn't have anyone sign up just to give a public testimony. But I was just thinking about it, is for those who watch these meetings, or once we get back in the town hall, those who come in and somebody raises a question that other people are also interested in, just even if it's just something to think about. And it's better to I want to be proactive instead of reactive. So the proactive piece is coming up with a communication system that allows the general public to know where to go to get information on the follow-up. And that might be the follow-up to the question that so-and-so asked is going to be in the minutes. Now I don't expect you to come up with a solution on the spot right now, but I know that that's something that someone pulled me up last weekend and said, hey, Ed, you remember when we talked about this? Well, whatever happened? So.
Okay.
All right.
All right, Tony.
Oh, it's me.
It's up to you now.
Okay.
Town manager report.
Let's bring it home. First of all, thanks for the warm welcome from everybody. It's been an interesting first 6 days. kind of walked into a whirlwind, but it keeps things moving. Thank you for restarting this meeting, which worked actually pretty well. And the team, I'm frantically texting Joey Bettinger behind the scenes, like, why am I hearing all these voices? Hopefully it's not just in my head, but it wasn't. So take it easy. We figured that one out, and it was nice. But getting down to business, I talked to Public Works, which I guess I know is called Parks and Streets, but I will call it Public Works for the foreseeable future. It's all hands on deck right now on the prep for Poolsville Day. Already starting to track weather and how hot it's going to be or cool, cutting grass. The new electrical service was put in front of City Hall finally today, which gives us a few more options for outdoor operations on Wayland Commons. But basically, as I said, it's all hands on deck for that day at the moment with the crews. Most of the rest of my list has already been covered in the discussion today, just a couple other kind of housekeeping items. I did check in with the county on the library project because I've walked by there a few times and nothing seems to be happening. They're now projecting the end of the calendar year, which I felt free to comment that seemed like a little long time for a refresh, given that it's only early September. But that's the county. It's generally takes about whatever they say, double it and triple the cost. But they're working on it, and they say that end of the year is a reasonable expectation of reopening the library. John Strong couldn't be with us tonight, but he wanted to let you know that he continues to work kind of to Ed's point on the jaywalking issue that you all discussed, basically between the car repair up the street over to locals. He did get distracted with some permits and some inspections this week, but he has not forgotten. He continues to look at that issue, and he should have a report to us pretty soon. And that's everything. Like I said, everything else I expected that we've already discussed, including the trash contract. Just to be clear, it sounds like next meeting, we're looking for a public discussion of options and an executive session about the terms and conditions of the contract itself. Does that sound about right? Okay.
I don't, do we want to discuss options in public?
Yeah, I don't think I'm comfortable with that. I think I'd rather see us have a closed session just to talk about trash in general. But again,
okay,
I want to have it be that that our communications with our residents are just as crisp and as clean and really as often as they can be. Just, to not just remind them that we're working on it, but that we're, actively on a daily basis. And I know we're already doing this, having conversations with Bates about how to improve things. But I think I'd rather talk about it in executive session, because I think there's going to be some strategizing that we really have to have some hard conversations on, and some background information on, and also to get some input from Jay.
Then we will kick both topics to the executive session, and the justification for executive session. One of the 4 approved justifications would be to obtain legal advice, I believe. Which we are.
Right, the all-encompassing one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, Carrie and Tony, can we add to the next meeting? I wanted to discuss it a little bit tonight, but I've had several residents approach me about what we can do about vacant storefronts. I know we talked about this years ago, and Jay kind of told us, long story short, there wasn't a lot we could do, but and perhaps there's not, perhaps but it might be nice to revisit it and see if there's anything's changed. If you have any fresh ideas of what we can do to try to encourage some of these people, these landowners, to fill their businesses. We've had the place up next to the old watershed that's been empty now for 4 years, 5 years. Anything we can do to encourage those people to get those businesses filled would be, I think, very helpful.
Martin, I don't want to interrupt, but I think this is vitally important, and we need to embrace it. All of the again, and we did this a number of years ago, but it needs to be done because you're a whole new crew basically, is the stakeholders have to be engaged in a really positive way. Probably a couple of leaders from this Economic Development Committee need to engage these property owners and also ask them, like, get their input on how they read their own shopping centers and how their shopping centers are working. Like, and I'll give you an example. I know Nicholas Papadopoulos very well from running Bikes and Breakfast out of his shopping center. He's got an active scenario going on with several of his tenants, you know, obviously including the library, but several of his tenants. You know, there's talk of Dr. Eag's office moving down to where the watershed was. There's talk about how to fill that spot. Might be Dr. Eag's office moving into that secondary position right next to it. We know the Chinese restaurant has been struggling there. So this has to be, if it was me and I was running the Economic Development Committee, whoever's making up the parts of it, I would engage every single one of these stakeholders. They're basically our most important people for our town that are not residents. The shopping center owners, they want to meet you. They want to talk to you. They want to have an idea about what we expect out of them. And this goes all the way from meeting with Donegan, again, on friendly terms. This talks about meeting with like Nicholas Papadopoulos. Peter Lupus is runs up where Potomac Valley Surveys is. Same, Gary Dobbs is still the same property manager for the Tractor Supply Center. I mean, I think we got to get like friendly relationships with those guys, and then we can talk about what those storefronts mean and what their efforts are and what they're doing. I hope that that's something that this committee can do.
So are you asking for a committee presentation or?
No, I would say I'm just putting the word out to whoever's running the Economic Development Committee that my recommendation is to engage.
Well, my question to Martin is
I just wanted some dialogue. I wanted to put it on the agenda. I wanted to talk about, I guess hear any ideas you might have. I want to hear from Jay again, if possible. Like, you know, are there any I don't want to get litigious or anything like that. Not that we have any grounds to, but, you know, from his point of view, from a lawyer's point of view, is there anything we could do? The Economic Development Committee is a great idea, a great way to attack it too. Just any options we have to try to lean on them a little bit to try to fill their businesses.
Yeah, I mean, I'm comfortable with a high level discussion at that point. I'm concerned that, you know, and we have a short week this week and then next week. And I think by the time we start getting surveys set up and, you know, deal with base, see if, you know, get some of the background information you're going to need for your executive session, that, you know, that's all we're going to be able to do is kind of broach the topic, which I'm happy to do. And if any members of the committee want to pitch in or be guests or something like that.
If it needs to get bumped to a meeting a month from now or whatever, that's fine too. But I don't want it to slip through the cracks if possible. I'd like to discuss it. I told residents that we would revisit it. So I'd appreciate it.
Certainly.
Thank you.
And that's it. That's all I have.
Okay, awesome.
Just real quick while we're all together, on Friday night, I believe that the Poolsville flag football group, it's going to kick off on over at the park here. And so if you're around, it's going to be a nice event. And so the Blackstones have really done a great job bringing flag football to Poolsville. There's over 100 something kids that are going to be participating. And so there's a lot of different coaches with elementary school, middle school. You got high school kids who will be serving as referees. But it's a really nice community event that's taking place over at Helmholtz. And so it kicks off. There's an event Friday evening. And then Sunday, they'll have games will be played on Sundays.
Got a little plug for football. All right, well, if there's nothing else for this evening, I think we've gone through our agenda. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, I'll make a motion we adjourn.
And Jeff seconds.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thanks so much, Tony. Great
Thanks,
first
everybody.
evening.
Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks, everybody.